Your someday starts today. It's time to explore and test the newest science, methods, and trends for creating a life you love with your host, Tanya MFK. Welcome to My Designed Life.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to My Design Life, where we learn and test the latest science, tips, tools, and strategies for you to create your best life every day. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at My Design Life and at Tanya MFK. And if watching videos isn't your thing, head over to My Design Life Show podcast and listen up. I'm Tanya MFK. Thank you for being here. Now, last week we discussed choosing your impact on the world and creating the narrative of how you'll be remembered when you're gone. As we know, we get to choose our path and design our lives. So instead of letting our future be determined by default, we took the time to mindfully think about what contribution we want to leave for those around us. And the way we did that was by writing our obituaries. And as crazy as many of you thought I was super grateful and relieved to receive your success stories of realizations and big aha moments that you had while doing this practice. As promised, it was not as morbid as it sounded, and rather it was a really grounding practice that helps you define your path and purpose even further. Because the truth is that death makes life worth living. So if you missed that episode, go check it out. It's called How to Choose Your Legacy, and you can check out the show notes below, and we have worksheets so you can try it out on your own. And now for today, we are going to dive into branding. And no, we're not talking about logos and colors. It's about you. We will learn how to breathe your personality and authenticity into your business through very easy ideas and tactics. There are so many great things in this episode, it should be its own course. So get your pen and paper ready for notes because you are about to get some action steps to transform your business. Here's our conversation.
Welcome to My Designed Life.
So my guest today is a former basketball coach, father of two, and had 30 jobs before committing to life as an entrepreneur. The host of Greatness Unlimited podcast, he teaches others to grow and monetize their podcast and specializes in branding as well as repurposing content. He is here today to teach us how to stand out by simply being who you are. Please welcome Coach Chris Hines. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you so much for having me on. This is like our third time being on podcast together. It's great. I love it, man. I'm finally on the show. I'm excited.
Yes, no, I love connecting. Honestly, it's such a great thing to have someone you know and to vibe with. And I love diving into this with you. So as we mentioned, we are going to go into branding, and we know there are so many misconceptions about what it is. And I think before we dive into what it is, I'd love to go over what it isn't. Can you bring us to that?
Oh, man. First of all, branding isn't just your appearance. A lot of people have this misconception that if I make this amazing logo, I have a great brand.
Oh, yeah.
No, that's like a small piece, but it's not as important as most people think, right?
Yeah.
Like your brand is a lot more than just the colors and the logo. Um, your brand also isn't your opinion about it. Like your brand is really a lot about what other people think about you. How do they view you? Now you
Yes.
can control that through delivering the right message through content and your testimonials, different things like that. Like you can control that message, but you can't say, "Oh, this is what my brand is." No, you don't really
Mm-hmm.
decide that. The audience, the
Exactly.
customers, they decide that. So I think that we have to get off of the surface level of branding and start dissecting the layers under it.
Right. Yes, that's so important to mention that it's not what you think, because you could have your thing and be like, well, see, I chose this curve here and these colors because that's really like what I think about the ocean. And somebody else looks at that and they're like, yeah, that looks like the Joker from Batman. And you're like, oh, no, it's this. No, you don't get to choose that. It's going to be what they see, right? So it's not your choice. That's such an amazing point. Yes. And it's not the logo. And the truth is, guys, as strong as logos can be, and new entrepreneurs tend to agonize over that choice, right?
Yes.
I'm gonna, challenge all of you right now to go onto Google, and I want you to look up something called Google back rub. And it sounds weird, but what you're gonna find is like Google was actually called back rub before they were called Google. One of the most recognizable brands around had this weird ass logo and
Wait.
name.
Could you imagine somebody, instead of saying Google it, they say back rub it?
Can you?
What? Like,
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, just back rub it. Oh man.
that's a very good point on branding. I like
Right?
that.
Exactly. And so guys, it can change, but you know what didn't change was who they were and what their purpose was. So they could even change the name of their company, but understanding like their vibe and who they were, like that stayed. So that was huge. So yes. So now I know, you know, with what you're doing, you're building podcasts, you're really working with people who are kind of like first dipping their toes in, right?
Yeah, so at first I was only working with those people, but now I work with people and I'm really showing them that having a podcast is about building a platform. So you
Mm-hmm.
want your platform to be aligned with your business that you already have. You don't want to start over and create a totally different thing. You want these things to be aligned. You want them to work
Yeah.
together. Anybody that's listening to your podcast should be able to buy your product. They should be able to buy your book and then buy maybe a coaching program, maybe buy a course. So you have to look at your platform as something that works together. Like
Yes.
I like to kind of think about HBO. HBO is a platform. They put out great content. They have great shows, great movies. They put out great behind the scenes content on social media. They have trailers. That's the same way you want your platform to be. And most people don't look at it that way, which is why their brand really struggles to have a great message. You know,
Yes.
for your podcast, for any of your content to stand out, you have to have structure to it
Yeah.
so that it doesn't look like you just woke up and recorded this. Like you don't want that look all the time.
Right.
Sometimes that's cool. For your Instagram story, that is great.
Right.
But for your
Right.
podcast,
But that's
for
because it
YouTube,
disappears
you
in
know,
24 hours. So we can
exactly.
fix it. But that podcast, guys, come on, that's forever. Okay. That's living on the internet. So yeah. Well, and I love that the fact that you mentioned that kind of cohesive identity, because so often, you know, we get this idea and we're like, oh, I could do that. And so let's say your business is about, you know, gardening, and you're all about gardening, and you're talking about seeds, and you're talking about soil, and you're doing this, and you're like, man, I want to do a podcast about travel. And like they don't go together unless you can find a way to tie that together, if it's like travel gardening or something. But the truth is when you come to something like that, it doesn't mean you can't do it, but you have to make a decision. Is it my business or is that a side project?
Yes.
You
And
know?
one thing, and that's one thing, that's why the title my clients gave me, I didn't even give it to myself, but I love it. They call me the creative director for entrepreneurs because I like helping people take, like what you just said, those crazy ideas. So if you are into gardening and that's like your thing, I would say if you do want to start a podcast, you should interview and you want to start a travel show, then and if you're traveling, then you should interview people as you travel that are also
Right.
gardeners.
Gardeners
Like
around different gardens in different
that's
areas.
it.
Right.
That's how you have a
Exactly.
podcast where you can still talk about travel and gardening. You can do both
Yes.
at the same time. It's just you have to be really, really strategic and see that's why I love coaching because that's some transformation you're not going to get on Google or
Oh,
YouTube.
right.
Like
Exactly.
that's what it
Exactly.
is. And I tell people when they first connect with me, like if you want to start a basic podcast, you can go and look at YouTube. Like
Yeah.
you don't need to pay me for that. I'm
Right.
here to help you and you want to do something that transcends your market where you
Mm-hmm.
create your own lane. That's why we're building your own platform.
Yeah. But bringing it all together is so important, you know, like Chris is saying right now, that finding like, okay, if that's really what you want to do, you want to bring that into your business. It's not going to be a hobby. You know, it's going to be a hobby, it's going to be a business. But if it's so disjointed, it's going to confuse your audience. We don't know what you're about. We don't know what I'm supposed to go to you for. Who is that lady? Oh, she's the garden travel crochet lady. Like, what is that? What is like pick a lane, you know, or figure out like Chris is saying, pick a lane or figure out how to put it all together. But if you don't tie it together for your audience, if you don't help them have it make sense, then they're not going to know how to describe you to someone else, right? Like,
Yes,
you know.
and I think yeah, that's when you have a great brand is when you're referable. When
Mm-hmm.
when somebody can refer you to somebody else. Like my goal and what's been happening for me already is becoming the podcast guy, but
Right.
for professionals, right? So
Mm-hmm.
when people are at events and at conferences and they're talking about starting a podcast, somebody pops up and says, "Oh, I know this guy, Chris. He puts out a ton of videos on that. That's who you should talk to."
Right. Right.
That's literally, I don't run any ads, so that's literally how my business works. That
Yeah.
content I put out builds my brand, and I become relevant to the people who matter, and then I get referrals or my ideal clients reach out to me. That's all
Yes.
branding is.
Yes. And nobody saw your logo. Nobody saw your logo in that scenario, right? In that scenario, there was no logo. There was no business card. There wasn't even a website. Someone would be able to go, oh, podcast? You need to talk to the podcast guy. They don't even have to remember your name. You're like, this guy, podcast guy, Chris something. Go look him up, find him. You get on there. And here's the thing, right, Chris? You offer tons of other things as well. You have your coaching packages. I know you have other projects that you do, but that is like the brand. That brand is there. And then anything that's cohesive to this podcast, it's not that you're stuck, right? I think that's the thing that entrepreneurs get scared of. Like, oh, but if I'm niched,
Yeah.
I can't branch out to do anything else. I'm going to be stuck. I can't. And it's like, it's the opposite, right? And it's so hard to understand that the more niche you are, you still can branch out, but the more they understand your thing, what you're about.
And I compare, this is how I explain this to my clients, is boundaries actually give you freedom. So for
Mm-hmm.
example, if we have a, let's just say, a gated community, right? That gated community is a boundary. You cannot go
Mm-hmm.
outside this gated community, right? But inside, you can do whatever you want to.
Right.
So you have boundaries, but you have freedom with those boundaries. You have even
Yeah.
more freedom because now you know where you cannot go.
Right. I
So,
can let my
uh,
kids play around and not worry that there's
yes.
someone who doesn't live there is there, like that's a freedom that you're like, yeah, awesome. Like I like these these fences right now.
And that's what
So
you want your brand to have, because now when you start to kind of play in your own little community, you get more opportunities. Like
mm-hmm.
before, when I talked about a ton of different things, like you said, people didn't know who I was or what I was doing. It was hard for me to be relevant. I couldn't really
Mm-hmm.
build an audience. People were like, wait, who is this guy?
Mm-hmm.
Now I get invited to speak at podcast events because people know me for podcasting. So
Right.
as you build your brand in the right area, you get more opportunities, which means more money.
Absolutely. Yes. And here's the thing too to think about, like, okay, so you're getting booked at podcast things and that's going to get bigger and bigger. And then because of that, when the podcast guy goes, "Oh yeah, did you hear the podcast guy's doing like retreat?" Right? Like he doesn't have to become the retreat guy, but because he built that brand, because he built that, people now go, that's the guy. He's got the credentials that follow that. So when he does do something else, they're like, oh yeah, I'll follow that guy. Like he's already done this, so it could be something as, I have no idea if that's something you ever want to do, but it could be some so seeming far-fetched, like, well, he's not the retreat guy, but because we followed him for so long, he's gained that credential and that belief of like, he can do this. So like, why not? Yeah, sure. He's doing a podcast retreat. He's doing a different retreat. Maybe it's just a relaxing from all my podcast life retreat. And like now, literally just for fun. Like I'm giving him ideas now. Like that, but that's what it is. It actually, like you said, opens doors. It can open to other things.
Exactly. And I think people have to stop looking at their brand as not, it's just a look. And I think,
Mm-hmm.
how most people want to be entrepreneurs so they can make money tomorrow.
Right.
Most people want to
Because
build a
that's how it
brand.
works.
So yeah, exactly. They want to build a brand so they can, have a logo and colors and stuff and a nice
Yeah.
website tomorrow, where it's like, you got to think about your brand in the long term.
Mm-hmm.
Your goal should be to have an impact on people long term, or whatever this area is. Like
Mm-hmm.
for me, what's really important is for people that work with me, my clients who I help launch a show or I manage a show, I want them to actually build a platform where they can build their credibility, build their authority, where they can get more opportunities. That's what makes me happy. That's a long-term strategy. If
Yeah.
you're just in this to kind of look cool with your logo and stuff, you're not going to win long term. It becomes really hard because that shifts your focus off of things that long-term people do, which is create content, and then you focus on just chasing sales, and
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
And you don't get to refine that process either, because you're trying to do, 10 different things because this client wanted this. You're like, yeah, I can do that. Sure, I can do that. And then nobody really knows, again, how to describe you. Oh, that guy, yeah, he did my website. He also walks my dog. He also does this. You're like, okay, so what should I call him for? What is this about? And then your business, let alone your brand, will not grow either, because you don't even know where it's headed towards. You don't know who your clients become. All right. Like, do they have more time because their dogs walked, or do they become, now they have their own branding because you created a website? Like, what are you creating? Not just for your business yourself, but who do your clients become after working with you? And if they walk away and all they become is confused because they don't know what you do, then that's a problem. We have a
Exactly.
problem. So as you go into this, I know your real specialty is kind of working on that personal brand and teaching people how to even harness like who they already are, not just creating this outside brand, but like taking that and bringing it forward in their brand. What kind of steps or ideas do you have kind of to share with us about that today?
Well, first of all, is to choose your sweet spot. And what I mean by that is what type of content are you good at creating?
Mm.
And honestly, I don't even work with people who don't want to create content because you got to understand creating content is the way you build brand.
Yes.
Because let's say your sweet spot is recording videos. I
Mm-hmm.
would tell you, okay, record 1 minute video every day for an entire week, pay someone else to transcribe that video, right? So now you can
Mm-hmm.
add that to medium.com or your websites,
Mm-hmm.
and you take that video, you can post that same video on every social platform.
Yep.
And you do this every day. Now you build such a great brand presence, right? That
Mm-hmm.
brand presence is a major key because one thing I'm learning with podcasting is some people they dibble and dabble wanting to start a show. Like, yeah, I want to, but not right now. I would like to, but I just don't have time. So
Right.
my job is to stay top of mind. So when I
Mm-hmm.
create content, I remain here. So when they do think about starting that podcast, they know who to come to. When
Mm.
they have somebody to ask about a podcast, they know who to come to. So
Yeah.
one of the
And they
first
see
things I
that
teach
Instagram
people,
story, they're like, oh, there's Chris again. Man, I really got to get a hold of that guy.
it works. It works,
Mm-hmm.
and it all starts with finding your sweet spot. Because for me, I can record a 10-minute video and add it to Instagram TV, LinkedIn,
Mm-hmm.
Facebook, two
Mm-hmm.
minutes to Twitter, and take that audio and put it on my show,
Right.
right?
Right.
And transcribe the audio and add it everywhere as a blog. I can create
Yeah.
10 pieces of content from video, but your
Yeah.
sweet spot determines are you good on video? Are you better at writing? Or do you just like
Yeah.
sit in your closet with the microphone? Like
Right.
whichever
Well,
one.
and this is such an important point to bring up because we tend to have, there's so much information out there, and even the most diligent of entrepreneurs, they want to, like learn all that they can. So they're out there, they're listening, and so this person says you should be blogging, and this person says you should be, creating video, and this person says, and there's you you need to find like what Chris is saying. You have to find the sweet spot. You have to see what works for you. Don't do the thing you hate because somebody said it might work.
Oh
I
man.
you will hate creating content, and I know for myself, like I would love to write, I would love to love writing, but the truth is when I get in there, it is just not my place. If I have to write like a proper blog, I'm like, get me on my email where I can just write like I talk. Hey guys, blah, 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 no problem. But if I'm supposed to like publish something, oh my God, I'm overthinking it. It's taking me forever. But have me get in front of a video, no problem. No problem. Off the cuff, we
Right.
rehearsed, whatever we do. That's my sweet spot. And I did it. I tried let's do all the things because that's all the stuff they tell me to do. But you know what? I don't like that. It's not my sweet spot. You know what? I don't tweet. I would love to be a Twitter person. I don't tweet. My husband loves it. I'm an Instagram, Facebook person. So it's so much, and to show up on Twitter or whatever platform that you may not like, it's going to show, and it's not going to be effective. It's
Yeah.
going to just be, you're faking it. You're just showing up, you're pretending you want to be at the party, and everyone's like, that guy clearly doesn't want to be here. So, and then you're going to get ignored at the party because no one wants to hang out with you because you're no fun. So you want to be somewhere that you like, that's fun, that you enjoy. And then what Chris is telling you here is you could take that one thing you like to do and repurpose it across all different platforms in ways that don't require much additional effort. And another thing that I want to pull out that you said in just a simple sentence was that now I just lost my train of thought, but you said about the sweet spot, about doing it, about sending it around. I just had it. It's gonna come back to me. It was about doing the things. I lost it. Okay, we're gonna keep going. I'm
Okay.
gonna find it.
So one thing I do want to say about what you said too is finding, not only do you need to find your style of content creation,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, you need to find your social platform,
Mm-hmm.
and you got to be aware of what every platform is for. Like, let's be honest.
Yes.
Like, think about where your ideal clients, where your ideal prospects might be. I have this theory of, just because I'm on every platform, I make it my job to be diligent, to be like everywhere. I'm
Right.
everywhere consistently. And so I know that on LinkedIn, there are more professionals. It's more of a business kind of area. Whereas if you go to Snapchat, it's like teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
If you are on Instagram, you can kind of find both, but it's more of a visual platform. Facebook is a little bit of everything, but you have to be in the right communities because it's
Yes.
guarded, right?
Yes.
Every platform is different. So again, you need to find out where your ideal clients are and
Mm-hmm.
where your brand will be most impactful. Because
Yes.
if I'm selling workout gear, like sports gear, whatever, I got basketball equipment and I'm selling shorts, I got my own clothing line, I want to be on Instagram and Snapchat where that kind of audience is. I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't be on LinkedIn trying to sell basketball shorts
Yeah.
to a lawyer. It just it
Right.
doesn't
And
make
that's the thing.
sense.
Someone's going to go, but that lawyer might play basketball. You're right. But that's not the place for that conversation. You know, and
Exactly.
so taking the shortcut, which I see so many times, you know, we people get buffer or something, and they just make one post and they
Oh
shoot it
my God,
across
I
all
hate that.
platforms. Like,
Oh, I
here's
hate
the
it.
thing: when on Twitter, that's not where you talk about what you had for lunch. Hey, look at I'm at this restaurant. So everyone who knows how that platform's used, you're going to stick out like a sore thumb. That's not what we do. When you do the same thing, like, hey guys, here's a great thing I found, and you post it on Pinterest, that's not how it works. That you have to understand the function and the position and the reasoning behind each of these platforms and show up that
Yes.
way. Show
And
up in
and
that
and what you're
conversation.
saying about show up is important, because this is one thing I started doing on Instagram, because I'm like, I know my ideal clients are here. How do I grow my account?
Mm-hmm.
So this is what I did to start growing like instantly. And this is an actionable step anybody can do.
Yeah.
Follow hashtags that are in your market. For
Yes.
me, it's podcasters. I follow all the popular podcast hashtags. I follow them. When people post on that hashtag, leave a thoughtful comment, an
Mm-hmm.
engaging comment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you really want to show them this is great content. Like,
Mm-hmm.
actually start a conversation, not 3 words. Oh, this is cool. That's dope. That's a trash comment. Don't waste your
Yes.
time. And
You sound like a
then,
bot.
right, immediately,
Yeah.
then you can take it a step further by sending them a DM, and if they're your ideal clients, offer them a solution immediately. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, if it's a podcaster, I will go as far as listening to their show and leaving a review, because
Mm-hmm.
again, what I'm doing is I'm building brand long term. So
Absolutely.
in 6 months, this person is going to be like, man, that person helped me with my show, notes on my show. I really
Yeah.
appreciate him. Or he helped me get sponsored. Sometimes I'll DM them and say, hey, what do you need help with on your podcast? Oh, I want to know how to get sponsored. Oh, that's cool. I recorded an entire video series on that. Check out my
Yeah.
IGTV channel and send them a link. But when you go in and you
Yeah.
deliver that solution, you're building brand. And most people don't do this because it takes time and it's a step-by-step thing. But what I can tell you is my account is growing and I'm getting clients from doing this. I'm making
Yes.
money from doing
Well,
this.
this is the true connection, right? So you didn't just go see them, make a random comment and do it. You actually looked at it, you engage in it. You probably also chose something that you were like, yeah, this person actually has some potential. You were not just taking every single one, like, oh, you know, like a robot. Okay, next one, post the same thing, every single thing, and do it. And I will tell you what, guys, people that I genuinely just supported, like, for whatever reason, I see people on Instagram and I'm like, this girl's always showing up, she's always smiling. I'm a shout out to Stacey Walker out there. I have never met this woman in person. Her and I have supported each other so much in work and business, doing summits together, all this thing, because I just saw her doing her thing and I was like genuinely stoked for her. And through that, like, we have helped build each other's businesses. Like, that has been that
Yes.
effort that didn't cost anything by just showing up authentically, right? That's the thing, showing up authentically. And I remember what I wanted to say earlier, which was the same thing about people who want to outsource their social media or want to outsource that blog. And I
Mm.
love that you said you figure out your sweet spot and then you can outsource the syndication of it, if you will, like, you know, the
Yes.
transcribing and this, but that needs to come from your mouth first. right? Like because that's the brand, right? Tying that back in, because if you're trusting the tone, the voice, the character that comes out across in your social media to some third party company, then when somebody shows up to work with you, they don't know who you are because all
Exactly.
they've interacted with was, someone on Fiverr.
Oh my God, exactly. And that's why one of the things I teach my clients is about storytelling. And this is another piece of actionable advice anybody can do. You can do this tomorrow. After you find your sweet spot of what content you're going to create, your style, whether it's video, written, or audio, start telling your story.
Yeah.
Think about the most embarrassing story of your life, just the worst thing, and then tell that story on your platform. And you got to start there, because if you can tell the worst story, everything else is easy. It's a cakewalk,
I
right?
love
So
that.
for me, I told my format is podcasting. So I've told my story about how I was a homeless college student. I used to steal food and I would shower at 24-hour fitness. Like that was my life for
Yeah.
6 months.
Yeah.
So I can tell that story. Nothing else is embarrassing, right?
Right?
And the best part about that is when you tell your story, there are a ton of people out there, I promise you, no matter what you've been through, somebody else has experienced it too. And they're waiting for you to tell your story to either help them get through it. And, they want to hear a different perspective of how you dealt with it mentally. So telling your
Yeah.
story isn't for you, it's for your audience. And that's how you build a brand connection with your
Yes.
audience.
Yes. See, and that's the thing, showing up, being there and being you. And I love this, guys. Take this tip right now because everyone has an embarrassing story. Everyone has something like that. And that's the thing is, you know what? You're human. And in this new age of marketing, we are so past where we were in the 80s and the 90s of, ruffling our feathers, and puffing our chest and the big suits and going, look at me. And everyone's like, woo, he must be successful. And we did that. There was almost a value to that, but the perception, we could say, yeah, okay, that's a version of success. I can trust that back then.
Mhm.
Now, we've had enough of people at the top falling down. We're not, the shiny stuff doesn't fly anymore. So when you can show up just who you are, when you can have that story, when someone's like, I get that guy comes and says it how it is and whatever, that is, that is what's going to gravitate. People do business with people they like, know, and trust, right? And showing up, and you might go, well, how the heck does doing an embarrassing story have to do with selling it? Because it's the connection with the people first. If you've ever heard like somebody go, this happened a lot. Like I'm from Long Beach, and there was this tiny little hardware store that was charged more than Home Depot and all that stuff. And people are like, yeah, but I know how. Like, I'm still going to pay more because I go there and I know him and it's fun to talk with him. And they went and literally paid more. It was the same product and more expensive. And people went to him because they knew, like, and trusted him. Like that's how
Exactly.
powerful it is.
And the only way you build that, I believe, is through the connections, like storytelling, and through
Mm-hmm.
content. Because
Yeah.
you build that trust with that content. If people watch my videos, and I'm putting out a video every single day across every single platform, no matter where you are, I'm going to reach you.
Yeah.
As you do that,
Yeah.
you're making a massive impact on the people that matter. And one thing I want to say about that too, a deeper thing on the content, is it's about who listens and watches, not about how many. It doesn't matter if 10,000
Mm-hmm.
people watch your video if they would never work with you. If they wouldn't buy, I look at it this way, if they wouldn't buy an $8 book from me, I don't need them watching my content. I don't care.
Right.
If you
Right.
wouldn't pay, if you wouldn't give me $8 for my transformation information, then we don't need to work together. It's okay if you don't
Right.
watch my content.
And I love that you brought that up because the numbers game it's everywhere. One of my most loathed things is that follow, unfollow, right? So like you
Oh,
got
yeah.
somebody because I mean this game we play with the numbers because like you said, the truth is you can have, 10,000 people following you. You got the coveted swipe and nobody's swiping because nobody actually cares. But you have those 5 people that you spent time with and they actually show up and buy. I will tell you this, one of my first times that I launched something, my email list was, I think, 36 people. And everyone's like, I mean, come on, nobody wants that small list. You're like 36 people, like you're 2% conversion. I might have a half a person sign up. My product out the gate was like $299, I think we did for one of our first sessions. And because I had literally been giving to these people and connecting with these people for so long, just everything, just giving them all for who I am, what I was, and showing up. I had literally half, 18 people showed up, like unheard of, paid for that thing and came up on this tiny, tiny list. And that's why, because I showed up. So that number, forget the number. It is the connection. It is the being there. It is that brand, because they knew what I was about. So when my product came out, they were like, yeah, that makes sense. She's been talking about this, for 2 years. And now I get it. And they stuck around. And then when I brought it out, they were like, yeah, let's do this. This makes sense. And it happened. They showed up, and it was I got to toot my horn. They had to show up. They say one of the hardest things is to get people to show up somewhere. And so it was actually like in-person workshop. Like I flew to LA. It was a whole thing. And it was a labor of love, guys. But I'm telling you, if it wasn't for that connection, it would not have happened. If it wasn't for just showing up and being authentic of who I was. So,
And that something similar happened to me for my first event. I had 6 people show up in LA. And it was amazing because all 6 of those people are people I had been following on Twitter for, I don't know, about a year.
that's amazing.
Right? Like we've been interacting for about a year. We have relationships that's what brand is that long-term relationship. And I think because we have so much software that can sell things for people.
Yeah.
Everybody is not focused on building relationships anymore. They're only focused on selling.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, is you're focused on making money. Whereas if you focus on building relationships, you'll make twice as much money.
You're going to make the money. Yes.
Way more.
And a lot of people are making choices about what they'll share or what they'll say on social media based on what would sell. Because trust me, everyone out there is a dime a dozen who's going to tell you all the hacks, methods, follow my blueprint to how I made my 20,000 launch. And I'm sure if you follow those steps, you might get something. But the truth is, A, you're not them. And B, that's the connection is what's going to bring it, not some hacky hokey, trick them into buying from you kind of thing. And that's that brand is so important. Again, we're talking about being who you are and showing up. But one thing I always like to give an example about branding is, if you guys, look at something like, let's say Ford and Mercedes, you can see that symbol and you can automatically hear like what kind of commercial they would create, what kind of style. Like a Mercedes commercial is not going to be like rugged through the dirt, let's go, grab your friends. Like it would sound off brand. It would sound so weird to you. And the reason is because because that logo, it's not the logo itself, but what they've said in it, what they've created, that you can literally hear a voice when you see that of luxury and, smooth rides and, seeing,
and all you're doing right now is attaching words to the brand. That's why I said messaging is important. So one thing you should do when you establish a brand and say, okay, this is what I'm going to do, this is how I'm going to help people, have a list of words that align with that goal.
Absolutely.
Like, is it luxury? Is it premium? Is it elite? Is it access? Having certain words that align with your brand make it really easy to convey a message consistently through all the content, through how you present your content, right? Like all of that matters. So I would say that the covers and thumbnails for your videos is more important than your logo, because that's what people are going to see more of, right? People are watching more videos and visiting your website. Yeah. So if you have a luxury look on Instagram, people will think, wow, this is a luxury brand. So that's more important, that feel. So that's
then what colors you picked or how much you paid for your logo. It's how you presented yourself and how you showed up. And also with that too, the truth is if they're going to find you, and if they're finding you, that means they don't already know you. So if they're going to find you, they're not going to find you by your logo. They're not going to find you by your name. They're going to find you by your content. They're going to find you by those keyword searches, by those things that you're talking about. So it's so much more important that you said how I started my first podcast, or how did XYZ. Then they go, oh, hey, this guy, Chris, yeah, I like his content. Let me keep following him. Then they start to understand the brand and who you are, but they're going to find it through what you're putting out and you showing up. So it's so
Exactly.
important.
That appearance. And again, if you find one style of content, one social platform where your clients are, you just got to be consistent now. It's that
Yeah.
easy. It is
Yes.
that easy. One style of content and then one platform to start. Do that
Yes.
until you can outsource other stuff if it's too much work for you, and you're
Right.
good.
But the
And then I would
consistency
say,
is so important. Like, don't go
yeah,
and open 5 social media accounts if you can't keep up with them, because it's going to be worse for you, for someone to be like, oh, they're on Twitter, and they go, oh, he hasn't posted since 2016, than it is to just not find, just to know that you're just not on Twitter, and then
yeah.
go to where you are and be like, oh, wow, here's some great content, great info, great this. Like, choose a place where you can show up consistently, and then you can take over like Chris, guys, and like go big and do all the platforms. But start, but it took you time to get there, right? Like, that wasn't out the gate. Like, you had to work and craft and really create how that was going to come together. You don't
And
start there.
you don't start there. And I think this is something that really helps me is I learned how to get clients from every platform.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that I think has been really unique for me, is using social media in a different way than everybody else. Like,
Yeah.
I made it a goal, said, okay, in 2019, I'm going to test a lot. I tested with my podcast, just
Mm-hmm.
everything. I was testing,
Mm-hmm.
but some things worked, some things didn't work. One thing I learned is how to get somebody to buy from LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. I know
Mm.
exactly how the process works on every platform because I've done it
Amazing.
multiple times.
Right.
So now I know putting content on every platform is actually valuable. That's a
Mm-hmm.
revenue generating activity for me.
Mm-hmm.
So when I post on LinkedIn, I know to get engagement there, I need to go and engage with 5 other LinkedIn experts that are in my
Right.
market. Right.
Right.
On Twitter, I know that I need to make a thread of my content and put a nice call to action. On
Mm-hmm.
Facebook, I know I need to post content in specific groups.
Mm-hmm.
And then on Instagram, it's about following those hashtags, like I mentioned.
Yes.
And
Yes.
as I do that across all 4 platforms, my ideal prospects find me. They send me
Mm-hmm.
messages.
And this
They go to my
becomes your
calendar, set
sales
appointments.
process, which is
That's all
so
it
much different,
is.
than what I think a lot of people approach social media as like, I got to check off the box, because if I have a post about what I ate today, somehow that's supposed to connect to a sale for me. And that's not it, right? Like Chris can take this kind of time and approach to it because it's literally his sales funnel. And so if you're going to take that approach, then absolutely take that time to do it that way. But if not, then get on the phone or get an email, whatever that is, and do that, and then let social media be what it needs to be. But that's the difference, right? It's so often we're trying to just check it off the list, and we don't fully understand that. We're like, well, everyone says if I just show up, it's going to be there. But
Yeah.
it's listen to what he's saying. Like, I show up here a certain way, I show up here a certain way, I know this is what I have to do. And he invests that time because that literally is what pays the bills. If you are just posting a picture of you and, again, what you ate today, or like, look, I'm at the gym. If you're not a trainer, no, that's not your sales funnel, guys. Like, that's not going to work. So if you're wondering, well, I'm doing what Chris is saying and it's not working, that's why. Because you're just posting it to post, thinking it's just going to magically come. But this is a methodical, something that he's intimately got to know how these people and platforms respond, what they need, what the conversation needs to be, not just throwing the shotgun out there and seeing what sticks.
Yeah, and like you said earlier, with Buffer and Hootsuite and all these
Mm-hmm.
different platforms, it's allowed people to post everywhere without being there.
Yeah.
And this is the thing, you can't start a conversation if you aren't in the room. So if you take
Mm-hmm. Oh, I
your
love that.
post and you use Buffer, I know I just thought of
Hold
that.
that one, guys. That's going to be the quote of the
you
day.
right, you can't start a conversation if you aren't in the room. So if you use Buffer to post a video on Twitter, you're not going to get much engagement. You're
Mm-hmm.
not going, and engagement is what thrives all these platforms. None
Mm-hmm.
of it works without engagement. Facebook
Mm-hmm.
groups aren't anything if people aren't in there talking to each other.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
it's just dead. So
Mm-hmm.
on, do you want me to go through all 4 platforms and how to engage on them? Should I do that for the
Yeah, you
personal
want to?
brands
Let's
out
do
there?
it. Yeah, why not?
Okay,
Let's
all
do
right.
it. I think we have enough time. Yeah, we got about 15 minutes. We can make it go.
All right, all right. So on LinkedIn, one of the best things you can do is connect with people that are in your market, and then go and see what articles, what videos they're posting. And again, leave that comment, but with a question. because most people on LinkedIn posting content, they rarely get questions. So when you ask them a question, that starts a longer conversation and you really get that engagement really high. And once you show love on LinkedIn, people immediately, they go and endorse you. They will
Mm-hmm.
follow you. They start sharing your content. So people on LinkedIn are really, really generous, like
Yeah.
really generous. And link again, that's for professionals.
Yeah.
Now, Facebook groups are a little different. I use a different tactic, and it's kind of like outrage marketing. What I like to do in Facebook groups is I will go in there and I will say something wrong, and just to get people to tell me how I'm wrong so they can kind of tell me the right way, right?
Mm.
So for example, I would say something outrageous like you don't need an email list to run a business. And I get a ton of people telling me, yes, you do need email list for this and this
It's
reason.
so
Then you ask them,
important.
okay, so how do I build my email list? Boom, there you go. They're going to tell you because people want to be right. So
Oh
that's just a
yeah.
psychology trick
Yeah.
on Facebook.
Right, right, right. They want and they want people love to like, hear their own voice, like put it on there like, let me show
Exactly.
you what I know, which, maybe just made
So
their day.
it's easy on
Love
Facebook.
it.
And then another tip is if you have a brand, you want to find at least 5 to 7 groups that are in your brand and then be a part of those groups. Be in those
Mm-hmm.
communities, be active. That's how I started getting a lot of speaking opportunities because I was just in
Yes.
there giving out podcast
Being part of the
advice,
conversation.
being in the room, being in the
Yes.
room.
Yes.
And then on Instagram, it's kind of the hashtag method I explained
Mm-hmm.
earlier. Take it a step further, send them a DM and give solutions. If
Mm-hmm.
just let them know, hey, I see you're trying to start your own photography business. I've been a photographer for 10 plus years, and I would love to help you do this, this, and
Yeah.
that.
Or have you tried
Don't
this?
That's it. Don't sell, just give a solution.
Yes.
Don't try to provide value because most of the time that's fluff. Give
Mm-hmm.
them a solution. If they want to get more clients, tell them, look, you're a photographer, you get more clients in Facebook groups, take headshots for professionals. Boom. You help them right
Yes.
there.
Yes.
That's simple. Now on Twitter is a little different. It does take a little more time, but what I'll say is once you build an audience on Twitter, it is the best platform for engagement. Like the best.
Yeah.
Like if I ask a question on Twitter right now, like I remember one time I was in the store and I was like, so what desk should I get? And I took a picture and 50 people responded instantly. It is ridiculous. Like
I believe, I posted something not that long about what earrings I should wear. It was right before one of my shows, and I was like, what earrings should I wear? And I had so many comments. I was like,
yes,
really? This is what did it? But people love having input and
they
like giving
love
their
it.
opinion. And it was
They
so much
love it.
fun, And so now you start to also see kind of who's paying attention and have fun with them. And then later on, of course, talk about other things. But like you can have fun, you can get started there and get that
And then
engagement.
for all of these platforms, the best call to action is just send me a message. That's
Yeah.
it. You don't need
Yeah.
anything else.
Yeah.
Send me a DM. That's all.
Mm-hmm. I love it. I love it. And actually in like some of the like Twitter and Instagram, those DMs actually do count towards kind of seeing your engagement. Like when I guess Instagram kind of sees that there's a lot going on with you, not just in the posts and comments, they still also kind of increase that ranking a little bit. So that, encouraging the DMs and the chats is actually very helpful too for you to get, up there and seen. So I
Yes.
this has been so much, guys. That last thing right there was just fire. Like, walk away with that. Like, that alone is already when you're like, I don't know what to do. Boom, right there. Exact action steps. So, is there anything else as we're starting coming down towards our end here that that we want to make sure the audience knows in terms of really bringing in that personal brand, being so who they are? Because I know that was a big part of this. Like, there's all kinds of tactics and hacks and things we could go into, psychology and colors. Colors are part of it. Yes, there are colors, guys. You don't want to make these. I've seen some real poor choices. Fuchsia and bright green looks like 1990s website flash. But before we worry about any of that, there's so much about who we are. And so, is there something that we haven't got to mention yet? You want to make sure everyone knows about, like stepping into that and being authentically them, or as they can be. Is that a thing?
That is that I would say that's the thing. I like that. I like that. I think what's first is really figuring out what value you bring to the world. Like,
Mm,
what is a problem you can solve? And what I mean by that is, like, for me, it's yes, it may seem like it's just podcasting surface level, but on a deeper level, I want to show people how they can have their voice heard. by the people who matter. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not just podcasting, that's the format, but the message
Right.
overall is brand your greatness, have your voice heard, right? Like build
Mm-hmm.
a platform so that you can present your message to the world, and eventually you can show other people how to present their message to the world by them being on your platform. So I think you got to start off with your overall purpose. Like, why? What can I actually help people with? And this is the thing, you might not know what that is right now. So what I say is get better, develop skills in some area, just really
Right.
start focusing on improving you, becoming a better person. And that's going to in turn grow your personal brand, right?
Right.
Like that is one of the best things you can do. If you're not good, just go get good. We have more than enough information for you to get better.
Yes.
More than enough.
And I love these things because I'll tell you right now, I have my own personal coach for life, and she's amazing. But she doesn't hesitate to tell me, like, yeah, we're learning some new. She's actually told me just recently that she's taking this neuroscience class and learning more about how like the neural connections and like hormones that get released when we think certain things and our body's reactions. And like she doesn't know it maybe all yet, but just the fact that and I'm her client, she's telling me this, I am like, oh my gosh, she's going to be able to have so much more to tell me about like what I have on. So like, so if you're like, well, I don't know it yet, and you want to keep it a secret, that actually can be part of your story. Guys, I'm diving even further into this because man, I am going to step it up a notch. I'm doing this. Like that becomes part of it too. Don't hide that. Like the fact that you don't know is okay. And the fact that you're learning makes it even more exciting. And then people are like, weren't you taking a class? I wanted to do copywriting, but I saw you were doing that. Do you offer that as a service now? Like people who have been paying attention, they see that journey, they see what you're doing. So yeah, I love that. Like get better, get the skill and just, yeah, be there. Do what you're doing.
Yes, I would say the most important thing for a brand in 2020 is being in the room.
Mm-hmm.
Like the days of just posting content, people love it. And you're not a celebrity, right?
Yes,
Nobody knows you
yes.
yet. So you need to still be in a room talking to other people, having those conversations. Now I look at social media as different rooms. So I use all these rooms differently, like we explained. And some of them will help build your brand faster than others. So you have to figure out what your goals are, right? For
Right.
me, I want to get on stage and speak more. I'm putting out a podcast book. I have so many goals. I have my business that I'm growing. I have my own podcast studio, my production company.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty good for me to be active everywhere, as you can see.
Right,
So
right, right.
so you got to what are your goals with your brand? What do you want to do? Some people want to be speakers. If you want to be speakers, that content we talked about should be on LinkedIn and Facebook. You should be
Yeah.
in communities on Facebook. You should be active on LinkedIn,
Well, if you
having
want to be
conversations with people
speaking
in your
and you're
market.
focused on developing your blog, we probably have a problem here. Like if you're like, yes, I'm sure your blog might be great. And now you've got a ton of blog followers. How are you taking that into the next step? How are you really focusing on like, did you guys know I could speak? Hey, by the way, they're like, no, it's cool. We've been just reading your stuff. Well, that's not going to help you. So now you've developed it. They always say it's great to climb the ladder, but not so great if you're on the wrong building. So
Oh,
it's
that's
like,
a good one.
like, yeah, you're at the top, but you're at the wrong damn building. You're the first finish line on the race, but it was the wrong race. So that, you don't want to be there. So understanding where you're at, showing up, developing those skills, all of those things are so huge, and really not being afraid of social media, using that as your platform.
I'll be honest and say, I know this is going to sound crazy, but I've never made a sale from sending an email,
Oh
ever.
yeah. Oh
All
yeah.
my sales have come from DMs. Like
Yeah.
that's it. DMs, get on the phone, and then they buy.
Yeah.
I don't, not to say I don't believe in a mailing list, but it's never made me money. I'm just being
Mm-hmm.
honest. Like, so I just go the opposite route and I double down on the social content stuff.
Yeah.
That's what I'm good at. That's my thing.
Well, see, and I know for myself, and I'll say I actually, for mine is complete opposite for that. So for me, but showing up consistently, and then people going, hey, you want to keep this conversation going, shoot me an email, hit click the button, and people reach out, but they reach out because they've already chatted with me in a way. I've
Yes.
shown up in that video. They've asked the question on a Facebook Live or on an Instagram Live, and so then they feel comfortable going to that next step and emailing me or DMing me, and then moving it into, for me, it is that platform and providing that value. And that's one thing I do want to throw out there, because if anyone is still holding on to that old thought process of like, well, I can't give them all the answers or they won't want to hire me, then you don't have enough to give anyway.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you are
Yep.
afraid that in something you can post on social media or anywhere else, it's going to give away everything, you don't have enough to offer yet. So
Yes.
there's absolutely no way that I know for myself, I know for Chris, could show up in any post and be like, well, there was all the secrets of my business. And the truth is, there are no secrets. It's all out there. Almost anything you and I can talk about is out there for free. It just depends on where they want to get it. And a lot of times people prefer to get it from you, or from, there's a lot of things I say that Gary Vaynerchuk says. And there are people who'd rather listen to him, and there are people who'd rather listen to me. They're like, yeah, I don't like, he cusses too much. He's whatever. I like him too, but that it's really about where you want to consume your content. Some people are like, I don't want to hear her voice. Find me a blogger, no problem. Find that tribe, let them be there, but don't be afraid to give that value. Don't be afraid to give that content. That way, I've personally, and this is a personal thing, but I'm going to say that the old gatekeeper way of like, I have a secret
Yeah.
method, let go of that. You don't.
It's
You
done.
don't.
Stop using that headline. Stop using
Oh,
that. Get my
there's
secrets.
there's
Just
no
tell my
secret
method.
method. Yeah, there's no my
That's done,
blueprints.
man.
Please, let's drop that for 2020, right? Man. All right, Chris. Well, I know, of course, we can't give away everything. But I think we covered a huge amount. I think that this value has been packed all over the place. Before my last question, can you please tell everyone where to find you and anything, awesome you have going on right now?
I do not have much to sell. I don't like selling like this. Like I just tell people, just follow me on Twitter, Instagram, the Coach Chris _ LinkedIn, and Facebook. Just search me, Christopher Hines, and I'm just here to answer your questions. Now, in 2020, I will have a podcast book coming. I'll be speaking at Podfest, maybe New Media Summit, maybe a ton of other podcast events. I'll be everywhere speaking. And if you are ready to launch a platform, just send me a DM there, man. That's the best way to reach me.
Perfect. So you're going to DM Chris Hines, make it happen. That'll be there. Well, so for my last question, what out of all these amazing things that we've talked about and told people they can do to really start on their brand, for getting their logo and those colors, but really making a step into identifying who they are as a brand, what would you say is the most important thing they could start with, or the first thing they should start with, like to take action today, tomorrow?
I got something better for you. Right now, after this episode is over, go and record a 1-minute video talking about your specific market, whatever market you're in. Record a 1-minute video. Then
Mm.
upload that video to headliner.app. That's an app you can
Ooh.
use. They will add the subtitles for you. You can make it look all cool, how you want your videos to look. You can do it free when you sign up for the free trial, right? Which I know you don't have, right? So
Right.
go sign up for that with your 1-minute video. Then take that video and post it on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and see where it does the
See
best.
what happens.
Then
Oh.
you're going to see, you'll have some evidence, some data. After one day, you'll be able to see where people are engaging with you the most. If you want better results, do this every day for
Wow.
5 days. Again, only 1-minute videos. I'm not
1
asking you to
minute.
record an hour, of course, 1 minute. Take that video to headliner.app, upload it, make it look all pretty and stuff, and then upload it to the top 4 social platforms every day for a week. And
I
then
love it.
sit back and watch on where you're getting the engagement.
I love it. Yes, guys, that is your assignment. I want to hear about it. You guys tag us in it, tag Chris in it. I would love to hear about it too. Tag me if you do this. I don't know, maybe there'll be something in it for you, but do that because that's awesome. I love that challenge. Thank you, Chris, so much for being here today. It was just, again, you just dropped so much knowledge, and I really just appreciate you. I love connecting with you. I'm sure we're going to bring you back many times. But guys, it is time to step into your amazing skin and be the most awesome you can be. As always, you can check us out and our latest things and what our latest best life challenges at My Design Life Show on Facebook and Instagram, and also on our website at mydesignlife.show. You can also follow me, Tanya MFK, and learn all about our workshops, retreats, and programs to build a life and business you love at tanyamfk.com. If you like this episode and like to see more, make sure to click that subscribe button to be notified of our next show. Remember, your someday starts today. Make it the best. I'm Tanya MFK, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us. You can catch us every week at 1 p.m. EST live on the My Design Life Show Facebook page and on YouTube at the Tanya MFK channel. See how the challenges go by following us on Facebook and Instagram at My Design Life Show and at Tanya MFK. Do you have a method, tip, or hack you'd like to share or explore? Submit to be a guest or suggest a topic by visiting mydesignlife.show.